gentlemen,
Whoa.
have you ever worn the wrong basketball shorts to PE?
I've worn the lone shorts because I forgot mine before. Yeah.
So they just give you the lone shorts.
Yeah, where you have to just wear some random pair that they act like they clean, but they probably didn't.
Been there. I remember leaving my gym shorts at home for PE, and yeah, the PE teacher, who, let's be real, as Jack Black said once upon a time, those who can't teach, and those who can't teach gym. So yeah, I had this PE coach go to the back room and get me the nasty gym shorts that I'm sure has been passed around and not cleaned whatsoever.
Yeah. They said it was clean, but there's no way, dude. So a guy who was my groomsman, Jake, taller guy, he sent a photo the other day of our training shorts from freshman football. And they looked like they were in pristine condition. It was one of those unbelievable things I've ever seen. Like I don't know about your gym shorts from your PE days. You go to high school in Texas?
Yeah.
Yeah. So you went to high school in Texas. So one of the shorts, I don't know about yours, but ours were just like kind of regular blue basketball shorts with the little imprint, Irvington Vikings, then with like the Vikings football helmet on it. Very cheap, but they got the job done. Mine were finished after like a year, just totally ruined. The lettering was off, the color was faded, but this man has kept these for now going on like 18 years, and they still look like they're brand new. It was crazy. I know this is not an interesting story for anyone that's listening right now.
It is not.
I'm just bringing you into to my life, and it was insane.
Well, that is impressive. And now that I think about that time when I was going to high school and doing football practice, God, football practice was the last class of the day, and yeah, I mean, it was like part of our periods. So like some people would say like, oh, how'd you do football practice? Like on Fridays, it was where it was just part of like the routine class. So we were out there for like maybe 45 minutes doing practice. But the coaches would let us, like they wouldn't blow the whistle until pretty late. So then we had to, go to the locker room, take off all of our equipment, and then hopefully you got to the bus in time. And if you didn't, well, you're shit out of luck, and then you have to call your mom to come pick you up. Or because the coaches didn't think it was their problem if you got to the bus or not, which I thought was just fucking ridiculous.
Oh, it's all about building character, Derek.
I guess. But also, it's not building character when coaches don't take responsibilities for the problems that they cause.
Yeah.
My mom worked. It was a pain in the ass for her to come pick me up.
Yeah.
Anyway. I'm going down memory lane of things that used to bother me back in the day.
Dude, with some of these things that are getting put out on video, look, I'm not going to act like I was like some 4-year Letterman high school football player. I only played freshman year, and quite frankly, I've had more embarrassing stories than I do have ones that I can gloat about, ones that actually make for a good laugh. And it doesn't make me sound like I'm showing off about my high school football days. So it works in a variety of levels. But when you see some of these videos, like, I don't know, one that comes to mind is Trent Dilfer just berating one of the kids on the sideline.
Yeah.
I see that and I'm like, yeah, that's what happened. That's what it used to be. Even as I was a freshman and I barely played, like my wide receivers coach would just dangle his keys in front of you, then smack him in your helmet. And that would he would ring your ear, or he would hit the ear hole or whatever. I remember one time there was this dude, our coach was 400 pounds. 400, a big guy, right? He was the security guard at our school. And he grabbed this dude, my buddy Saliga, who was awesome, but he grabbed him by the face mask and like he's basically teaching him how to block, but he's pretending he's a defensive lineman. So he's like bull rushing him. So he's grabbing his face mask and basically bull rushing him and then throws him to the ground. It's like, this is how you block. This is how you block. And that just seemed normal. So when I'm seeing these videos now that pop up, I'm like, God, what? Can we sue these guys? What kind of money can we get out of this here? It's been a while.
generation, Steven, they're all soft because I have tons of stories from when I played football in Texas, of all places. And yeah, if I said the details of what went on sometimes in the locker rooms with coaches, people would be like, "Whoa, that's just the way it was."
Yep. Yeah,
But
it really was. See, like this is kind of, I feel like AJ here. I feel like I have a little bit of pride now that I could say that it was a different time, because it really was a different time.
we were
And
tougher back then. We were
yeah,
tough men, Steven.
yeah, yeah. Like but I told you, man, there were a couple of embarrassing moments, and I just didn't want to play anymore. I didn't enjoy it. I wasn't
Yeah.
having a good time, even though you're not supposed to in football. And really, I probably should have stuck with it, but I was sitting at the height that I am now at 5'9", $130. Like, what am I going to do? But then, like, the next year, I saw the other coach. He's like, "Hey, Langford, a lot of people stop playing into JV. It happens every year. A lot of people went into junior varsity. I figured you would be one of those guys. Disappointed that you're not around anymore."
Dude.
And I'm like, "No, you're not. You hated me when I was on the practice field. What are you talking about?"
Yeah, same thing happened to me. I remember walking around the hallways, and then one of my football coaches stopped me and he goes, "Papa." They always call me Papa, never Papa. It was they always for whatever reason that was a hard name to pronounce. But I remember this one coach, "Papa, disappointed you didn't stick with football. Miss you this season." I'm like, "Yeah, I had to focus on schoolwork and blah 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 this and that." And he goes, "A lot of people could handle a lot of things. Just goes to show that some people can't handle things," and walked away. I was like, "You fucking asshole.
Ooh,
What an
that's
asshole."
That's got to sting.
But he was kind of right. Anyway, the reason
Now look
I
at you.
bring up
Look at you now. That's what you
look
should
at me
say.
now.
You should
I
get
can
him
handle.
on. Let's get him on the pod.
Yeah, definitely. I'm going to find that high school coach that can't tell me I can handle multiple things. I just did a 4-hour show on the radio. I'm now doing a podcast. Fuck you. Anyway, the reason I bring up the gym shorts is because that's what I mean, last night when Buddy Hield didn't put on the right gym shorts on, basketball shorts.
Yeah.
I thought like, oh, that's going to be the biggest problem of the night. Maybe a loss, but that was be like the weirdest thing. And I wish it was, because now we won't have Steph Curry for maybe a week. We'll see how long it is. Just your opinion, man. Stephen Langford, Derek Papa. We're going to get into the Warriors game last night. They won, but at what cost? We'll also get into a little frenzy, a little NFL trade, huh, Stephen?
Not interested. Not interested. I put it in the promotion for the podcast, but I got nothing. So you could ramble on about it if you want.
All right, I'll ramble on.
George Pickens does nothing for me.
It may not do a lot for me either, but we'll get to that a little later. As far as the Warriors, they win last night, 99-88. Very impressive to hold an opponent under 90 points for the second straight playoff game. And they went with the same starting lineup. Buddy Hield gets the start again. And GPT was good. GP2 was good to go. He was over whatever sickness he had in Houston. But Buddy Hield did not have a good start to the game. And let me just say, TNT, you got to give us a little heads up that the game is not going to start on time. I always figure it's not going to, because usually, a playoff game will go a little longer, and the NBA never tips off right on time. But the Cavs Pacers game was incredible yesterday. In fact, I will say this whole second round has been amazing. Just right now, we just started about half an hour ago. The Knicks have taken a 2-0 lead on the Celtics after the Celtics had a 20-0 lead. Once again, couldn't land three-pointers, and now they are down 0-2, having to go to New York. It's going to be a very interesting series. But watching the Cavaliers and Pacers last night, that ending was so thrilling. Right before that, Ernie Johnson just casually goes, "Well, the Warriors and T-Wolves have already started. You catch that game on NBA TV." I was like, oh, shit. So I turn over to that. The game didn't start yet. I think it was on a commercial break. And then I flip over back to Pacers and Cavaliers, and I just missed a three-point shot. Just missed it by a couple of seconds. So that sucked, but it was a great shot by Halliburton to miss the 2-point shot, get the rebound, go all the way back where nobody was defending the three-point line, and then made the game-winning three. But yeah, missed Buddy Hield, costing the Warriors a timeout early on because he had to change his gym shorts. But Warriors got off to a hot start, up 13-6, and it seemed like, Draymond was very hot to start, 4 or 5 from 3. But But then the Timberwolves went on a 10-0 run to make it 16-13. And the first quarter was just sloppy as hell. It looked like the Warriors were just tired from playing in that game 7. And it looked like the Timberwolves were rusty as hell from not playing almost a week. But then the Warriors got hot in the second quarter. They had a 10-point lead, 30-20. And then Steph Curry hurts his hamstring. And right away, I was like, uh-oh, if it's his hamstring, then he's probably not coming back in that not coming back in this game, and he did not. And the Warriors were able to get by. I mean, same formula as it was in Game 7. Great defense, good three-point shooting. The Timberwolves made a comeback in the fourth quarter. They were awful shooting last night. 5 of 29 from 3. I think it's the worst 2-game stretch when it comes to three-point shooting in NBA history.
Actually,
NBA playoff history.
I was doing the math right now. Yeah, 15% from 3 over 2 games. That is the worst stretch. I was gonna see if that was the same with the Celtics, because looking back at the last 2 games, they have now gone 25 for 100. 25 for 100. Grand total of 25%.
Jesus Christ.
Because that was the worst. Because that was the worst 3-point shooting game as far as misses in Game 1, because they were 15 for 60. For 60.
Yeah.
The NBA record 72. That was set by the Rockets, by the way. But I'd say that's worse. Like, I know in terms of percentage, the Timberwolves was worse, but dude, like, that was so bad. They would have to get really hot, though, if they want to match 25 for 100. So, 15% is 15%. Anyway, what were you saying? You were going to continue?
No, just saying that it was, I think everybody had the same feeling last night, was like, all right, the Warriors need to win this game because we don't know when we're getting Steph back. And right. I texted multiple people just being like, they need to take this one because he's not playing Game 2. And come to find out today, he's going to be gone for a week. He will not play in Game 2. He will not play in Game 3. And most likely he's not going to play in Game 4. And he's going to be reevaluated a week from today. So we will see what happens in that time and if he's good to come back for a Game 5. But as far as last night, Warriors finally – what's up?
AJ just saying set by the Rockets or set by James Harden himself?
Yeah, basically.
It could be. Believable.
Definitely believable. But yeah, like finally the Warriors, win in the rebounding department. I thought Kevon Looney played great last night, especially in the fourth quarter. I mean, getting those rebounds, defensive rebounds was huge. Jimmy Butler getting rebounds. I mean, everybody was getting rebounds last night. It was the difference in this series where even though the Warriors, still lack size, they're still a little more feisty than what the Timberwolves showed last night. And even though Naz Reid was making shots and Anthony Edwards was coming alive in the fourth quarter, still just clutch shooting from Jimmy Butler. I know we see incredible three-point shooting all the time from Steph Curry, but the weirdness in Jimmy Butler's shooting sometimes is incredible. How he's sometimes pinned in that left corner and then just lofts up a three and he makes it. Yeah. Even though Buddy Hield had a slow start, 0 for 7 in the first half, he finishes with 24 points and scores 16 of them in the third quarter. So Buddy Hield has been amazing the last 2 games. It's going to be very different with Steph Curry not being out there for the next 3 games, possibly more. But you have to commend the Warriors. They found a way last night. Their defense was incredible, and they got the win.
Yeah, I thought it was the defense really that was the catalyst yesterday, because the Warriors kind of felt discombobulated on offense, and rightfully so, without Steph. I thought Jimmy was being way too passive at first. You can point to that moment in the fourth quarter where you feel like they need to put the game away. And I think I texted you at the time, or maybe it was right after, where it's like Butler's he's got to drive. He's got to get to the free throw line. And it looked like he did on one play, but then there was another where he just completely passed up on one and gave it to Pods, and Pods just jacked up a 3 and ended up missing it. Look, man, I just thought it was a tremendous win. And obviously with Steph and knowing how long that he's going to be out, luckily they took Game 1. Just imagine how differently we'd be talking about this series if they did it. You go down 1-0 and you don't have Steph, this series is over. But now you give yourself a little wiggle room. You take you steal a road game already, gives you a leash to actually lose in game one, and then all you have to do is at least split at Chase Center to be feeling good. And if the Timberwolves win at home in game 5, then that's fine. You go to Chase Center at 3-2. This is what a 7-game series is all about. And I think Steph could be ready by that game 6 on that Sunday because he'll have 12 days rest, though you never know with hamstrings. But yeah, as far as the actual game last night, I like that you pointed out Kevon Looney. There was one sequence in that where he picked up a defensive rebound, saved the ball from going out of bounds, and then it ended up leading to a Buddy Hield 3-pointer. I liked the minutes that everyone put in, even a little bit with Kuminga, a tiny bit, like a smidge.
Just a little bit.
Just a little bit, because there's still a bunch of stupid plays that he's making. And I really hope that once he gets more minutes with Steph out, that he doesn't try to play a little bit of hero ball and instead tries to play some team basketball, or maybe they'll need some hero ball from Kuminga. But I mean, they actually, once we get into game 2 and the series moving forward, they actually might need Kuminga to do a little bit of that, because I think the Timberwolves are really going to start forcing them to shoot the 3-pointer and kind of just guard the inside and not let Gobert move. But everyone was contributing yesterday, even the Pat Spencer minutes. Pat Spencer is much like Guy Santos. He just brings the energy. Sometimes it doesn't look like he knows where he's going. There was that one play, which might have been my favorite of the game, where Hield just kind of backtracks towards the corner and Spencer follows him clearly in the wrong spot, but he just turns around and sets a screen as if that's what he's supposed to do. And then Hield hits a 3-pointer right over him. There's just a handful of plays yesterday, and I think Steve Kerr was just outstanding. There was obviously the timeouts where he's just been a master at that, going back to the first series with the Rockets, but this one yesterday, it felt like he was making the timeout, the right calls at the right time. And there's these after the timeout plays in which I actually think the Warriors are going to see there's a little advantage there, where Jimmy Butler can just get on Julius Randle one-on-one. They switch onto him, and then he's either going to take him and go to the basket or draw a foul. I don't think Randle can guard Jimmy Butler. And there was like a moment where Chris Finch just ended up putting him on Butler anyway, and Butler, I think, went to the free throw line 4 times just off those 2 plays alone. So actually, despite the Steph Curry injury that sucked, and I tweeted this out because this was the same feeling I had when I watched The Office, but once you watch The Office and you're done with season 7 and Michael Scott ends up going to Colorado and you're just watching from then on, it's like, yeah, I love a lot of these characters, but you're missing the main guy.
Yep.
You're missing the centerpiece, and it just hurts knowing that he's going to be out for however long. Look, I think this was not a best case scenario. Best case scenario would be Steph not getting hurt at all. But look, it's a grade 1, thankfully, and he could return in the series. And look, if they're down just 3-2 by game 6, I think he could return. I think he'll want to.
Just to go back to your Office analogy,
Yeah.
I usually go back and forth between either Seinfeld reruns or Office reruns when it comes to 10 o'clock at night. I either go to Comedy Central or the local KTVU for Seinfeld. And whenever there's an episode of The Office that's replaying and it's not Steve Carell, you best believe I'm changing the channel.
Yeah. Yeah. Look, man,
just not as good.
They did okay with James Spader filling in as Robert
That
California.
Was weird. That was weird.
The storylines they tried to create out of that, they were just stupid, and you couldn't wait for the show to be over. Especially like even the Will Ferrell episodes. Like, I love Will Ferrell, but D'Angelo Vickers was not an enticing character, not a great fill-in. So I remember how big of a deal that was too. It's like, who's going to replace Steve Carell? Will Ferrell? The hell?
Well, I mean, at the time, Will Ferrell was awesome. It still is, but now he's doing what's he doing now? Like MasterCard commercials or whatever he's dancing to for
PayPal.
PayPal. Sorry, it's just the same Fleetwood Mac song.
Mm-hmm.
But okay, Office analogy aside, yeah, I mean, when Steve Kerr said everything's on the table for Game 7, really wasn't. I mean, he played all of his starters the whole game, with the exception of Kevon Looney and Kuminga a little bit, but it was mostly Brandon Pajemski, Draymond Green, Buddy Hield, Steph Curry, and Moses Moody. No, wait, no, sorry. I'm messing him up. Jimmy Butler. But now everything is legitimately on the table, and they're going to play. Pat Spencer's going to play, and where Guy Santos was more reliable than Jonathan Kuminga, I would say the same thing about Pat Spencer right now. Because even though Jonathan Kuminga is giving you raw athleticism, and he made a 3 last night, and he wasn't terrible, he just doesn't look like he knows what the hell he's doing out there as opposed to everybody else. Guy Santos, yes, he looks checked out, and it looks like Guy Santos, while he's not asked to do a ton, he knows the assignment. Go get rebounds. Same thing with Pat Spencer. At least he flows with the offense a little bit more. Jonathan Kuminga, I would not be the least bit surprised if things come out after this playoff run, the Warriors season's over, we get some details about how Jonathan Kuminga was kind of overplaying for this team and how maybe the team didn't really trust him.
Are you talking about that inevitable Athletic article that Anthony Slater is going to co-write with Sam Amick inside the Warriors playoff exit, blah, 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 and then there's going to be some damning line about Kuminga?
I would not be the least bit surprised because, it probably will be Shams Charania and Anthony Slater and Sam Amick and Marcus Thompson all working together.
Youngmisuk beats them to the punch.
Who?
Youngmisuk.
Oh,
He's picking up the reporting for the Warriors at this time. I think there's a little Shams Charania, Adrian Wojnarowski battle brewing between those two. Maybe the Warriors beat.
Possibly.
I don't think so. They're both really nice guys. I don't think they're going to do that.
Nah, probably not. But I mean, at this point, you need Jonathan Kuminga to play. It's just when is the appropriate time to play him? I go back and forth with should they just go with what's been working? Should they have GP2 basically fill in for Steph Curry and just go with that small ball lineup with Draymond Green playing the 5, or do you want Looney out there a little bit sooner? And it's not going to be like everyone today on the radio was like, did you see this team last night in the Minnesota Timberwolves? I'm not taking them seriously. Warriors in 5. It's not going to look like that every single night. The Minnesota Timberwolves are going to shoot a hell of a lot better in game 2. In fact, I almost count on it. I think that there's no way in hell that they're going to be 5 of 29 from 3. I think they're going to shoot a hell of a lot better. I think it's like kind of the Rockets game 2 where we kind of slept on them and thought they can't do shit offensively. And Anthony Edwards still is that guy. I would not be the least bit surprised if he puts up 45 points tomorrow and the Warriors get run out of the gym. It's just a matter of how they're going to respond to that. I don't think the Warriors.
Speaking of a response, Derek, I'm interested to see how he responds to Chris Finch. Oh, God, excuse me, LaCroix, criticizing him a little bit after the game. And this was the second part of it because at first he's just kind of like, Anthony Edwards, he didn't get going until the second half, and we had to get going, and he fell flat a little bit. The light went out. But then when he was asked, like, if he needs motivation, that's when Finch started to get a little feisty.
You mentioned the energy, the spirit starts with Ant. Is that something that you and he talk about maybe ahead of game 2 now?
No, I mean, what is there to talk about? I mean, you're the leader of the team, and you got to come out and set the tone, in all ways that happens. And if your shot's not going, like you still have to carry the energy, So, I don't think there's, if I got to talk to guys about having the right energy coming into opening second round game, then, we're not on the same page. So.
Yeah, I don't think Edwards is going to lay down after a comment like that. I'd expect him to come out firing in game 2.
No, I mean 100%. I think that it all depends on. I think the Timberwolves will have a ton of intensity for tomorrow's game. It's just how are the Warriors going to react as well? Because we've seen it. Game 5, they had no interest in coming back to Houston and playing in that game. They wanted to rest, and they wanted to get ready for Game 6, and it bit them in the ass. And I don't think they have that luxury anymore without Steph Curry. They need to have intensity and treat every game like it's important right now because you don't know. Let's be real. We anticipate Steph Curry coming back, but I think the rest of the team has to kind of go forward with the mindset that maybe he won't. So if you can steal another game in Minnesota, all the better. But most likely, every no two games in the NBA look exactly the same, except unless you're the Knicks and the Celtics, which those games look exactly the same. But most likely, the Minnesota Timberwolves will shoot a hell of a lot better, and the Warriors will not have really good looks without Steph Curry being out there offensively. I think that defensively, they'll be fine. Offensively is what I worry about. We saw this team for a week without Steph Curry, where he had his, what was it, gluteus maximus contusion, whatever the Warriors called it. Um, no,
Sure.
what was the right terminology? Jimmy Butler just had it.
Deep gluteal contusion.
Yeah, whatever. Yeah, gluteal. But in that time where there was a week off from Steph Curry, I thought, okay, maybe this will benefit them where all the guys can grow, but it really was a hindrance to their offense. They didn't have the same spacing, and we saw, like, Jimmy Butler was fantastic, but without Steph Curry against the Atlanta Hawks and Miami Heat, it looked terrible. And I wonder if they should rely on three-point shots anymore. I think that maybe they need to have more of an inside game, try to get more points in the paint. But, I mean, we expect Jimmy Butler to be playoff Jimmy, and they're going to put Rudy Gobert on him to stop him from maneuvering around the court to get up into the post. So it's going to be difficult.
Well, that's where I think the two key guys here, and you mentioned something interesting, that you want more guys going to the rim. I think that's where the defense thrived against the Lakers, playing a lot of that drop coverage, not so much sticking with the screen, but rather just following the roller and then just dropping back next to the restricted area and trying to guard the rim that way. I think the two most important guys for tomorrow night, I think this is just me. I don't know. I mean, obviously there's Jimmy, right? He's going to be the facilitator. Obviously it's Draymond, but I think the two guys that are going to be most important tomorrow, if they actually want to get another win and steal both in Minnesota, are both Buddy Hield and Quentin Post, because those are the only two guys that can shoot three-pointers. I don't really trust Brandon Pajemski with his shot right now. Moses Moody is 0 in his last two games. I could see him lighting it up because Moody is as streaky of a shooter as they come. I don't like the narrative surrounding him where it's like you got to take him out of the. I mean, sure, you can take him out in the middle of the game when he doesn't have it, but I think if you start him off with the new one, then Moses Moody can surprise some people. But I think Post and Hield are the two guys that are going to be key tomorrow. You need them to be shooting lights out. I want to see Post getting at least 6 3-pointers if Steve Kerr decides to play him. Steve Kerr might not play him. He was unplayable against the Rockets. Maybe he feels the same against the Timberwolves, but with the way that Steve Kerr's treated a lot of these injuries and the next man up mentality, we've heard it so much from Kerr after these games where he says, hey, Quentin, I'm relying on you. Like, this is going to be up to you. Like, we need someone who could shoot beyond the arc, and you're one of the only guys that could do it consistently. He has a really pure jump shot, but I'd think that him and Buddy Hield are going to be the two most important guys because I think the Timberwolves are going to want to dare them to go inside and just try to score on Rudy Gobert. I think they're just going to want to dare them to do that and instead just have them take threes. I mean, you're going to be dropping against Draymond. You're going to be leaving those guys open. So if Buddy Hield and Quentin Post can find any space, take the shot when you can. Can't have Buddy Hield dribbling. Good God. I mean, I can't believe I texted you this yesterday. I texted you and 3 other people. I'm like, that Buddy Hield turnover pissed me off. The one where he just like passed up Jimmy Butler on the side and started dribbling to the top of the key. And then I think he went to Draymond at the end and Draymond had to shoot with the shot clock going down. Then I realized they're up by 11 with 47 seconds left. They might be okay. I was on edge, dude.
I know, and I don't blame you. But yeah, I texted you. I was like, I think they have this one, Steven. Even though,
I was like, you know what, you're right.
Even though I don't like Buddy Hield doing dumbass shit,
Who does?
It wasn't that crucial in that moment. Although I love, man, the post game interactions between Buddy Hield and Jimmy Butler. I mean, Jimmy Butler was giving him shit for not wearing the right basketball shorts, and the best part was like somebody asked Buddy Hield. So GP2 says you guys are kind of like bickering brothers, where Jimmy's the older brother, you're the younger brother, and then Buddy Hield's like, well, what's GP2 then, huh? He does the dumbest stuff on the team. You got it?
You want this one?
Yeah. Let's play it.
Facts.
You guys, Gary compared you to bickering brothers, and you're the little annoying brother, and you're the older brother.
And what Gary is?
I don't know. Maybe he's the middle brother.
The clumsy one, always doing the dumbest stuff ever.
You literally wore the wrong shorts. The audacity.
Do you think that this creates?
Oh man. I got one more to play because I personally, obviously, like, I'm Batman. I'm the one that saved the day. That one had me. And the fact that he was calling him buttered the entire time, it cracked me up. I was watching it on Bart on the way into work today, and I was laughing the entire time. But this was my favorite one. I think it reminded me of this scene with Joey from Friends.
You got here. It seemed like it didn't take long for you to be part of the group.
We had to make sure he got his joy back because somehow he lost his joy. We're not going to say where he lost his joy, but somehow he lost his joy.
Why do you keep doing this? Do you even know what these are called? What are they called?
2 fingers. Are we done?
I did think, though, there was something in there that was pretty interesting, and I had Jesse.
I really am pink. I just noticed I'm horribly pink on this thing. Hold on, let me turn my lights on real quick and continue with your point, Stephen.
Yes, Derek, will do. You do look pink. Good God. But I thought the interesting part, and I go back to that interview that Butler did because I went and rewatched that. I also went and rewatched Jeff Teague telling the story of Butler and that whole practice, and his retelling of it is hilarious in itself on Club 520, where he basically said, like, Jimmy crushed us with the G Leaguers. Then Jimmy went into the locker room. We, the starters, ended up beating the second string team. And then we said, all right, run it again with Jimmy in the third team. We want him back. And then they said, Jimmy's in the locker room. And then they went back to the locker room and he goes, Jimmy gone. And then he's like, and then later on the TV, he's on ESPN. But part of that interview, he said they need to be brutally honest, but he basically repeated himself in the post game with Buddy, where he said, no, the reason that we do this and the reason we can go back and forth is because I know Buddy isn't going to take this personally. I know he understands my words are all about winning. And that was Butler's issue with those guys on the Timberwolves in the first place. He never had an issue with the Heat. He never had an issue with the players on the Heat. That was always just with management, not getting a contract done, how they treated him when they weren't in the playoffs, and Pat Riley telling him to shut his mouth. But I thought that was pretty telling. Like, oh, so this is what he wanted. Like, the Warriors are the type of team with the mentality that he's been waiting for. Because he also mentioned Draymond in the comment too. He's like, Draymond, Buddy, everyone. They know that when I'm being brutally honest, it's coming from a place of winning. It's not personal, and we could just move past it. And it kind of felt like he was taking like a thinly veiled shot at his old team, and that's where his frustrations lied. And by the way, Jeff Teague said that it was the most gangster shit that he's ever seen when Jimmy did that. Like, he didn't say that was like, something a sucker would do or anything like that. He's like, no, that was G. Like, I respect Jimmy forever for that.
And that's why the Minnesota fans have turned on him, because even though he told it like it is, he didn't respect Karl Anthony Towns, and that fan base loved him. He didn't respect Andrew Wiggins, and that fan base loved him. So when he called those dudes out and he wanted to not play with General Sortis, then the fans turned on him. And it could get more contentious. I mean, we saw last night, Jimmy said, it's fine, you could boo me, but if you, say some sort of words to me, I'm not going to like that. And he was referring to some curse words. But, yeah, I mean, him and Buddy Hield are comedy. But let's be real. As Steve Kerr said during a press conference one time when someone asked him, why does everybody kind of clown on Buddy Hield? He's like, let's be honest. He's kind of an easy target.
Yes.
But the thing is, Buddy's playing great right now. But I forget who it was today. It might have been Jaden McDaniels. Someone asked somebody on the Timberwolves, how are you going to play this team going forward without Steph Curry? And they're like, well, we have to treat Buddy Hield like he is Steph Curry. He's the best shooter on the team right now. So the spacing's not going to be the same. And it's not going to look great like it did last night. Having Steph out there, like, that's the thing that I didn't realize when he was gone for a week was obviously Steph Curry's incredible. So when he's not out there, the offense suffers. But just the way that he opens everything up for everybody else. And now the defense is going to zero in on certain players. So it's going to be tough. And I know that I, been on record on this podcast and Dirty Work saying that I thought that the Minnesota Timberwolves were going to win this series. I don't want them to. I just thought the quick turnaround and the age of the Warriors was going to finally bite them in the ass. And you can argue that it kind of did with Steph having to play 40-plus minutes in Game 6 and 40-plus minutes in Game 7. That probably contributed to him hurting his hamstring.
I was actually on the I was getting ready to text you, told you so, when I said there was going to be no way they know how to guard Steph Curry, because they didn't. He had more space in that first quarter than he had all of that Rockets series. But
yes,
yeah, you're completely right though. At the end, you were right, Derek. I don't
want to be right. I don't want the Warriors to lose this series because of Steph Curry being out now. Like I would have slept fine at night had this series gone 7 and Anthony Edwards was just the better player and the Timberwolves were just the better team in the end. But now, if Steph is going to be out for the majority of the series and the Warriors lose because of this, I think that it's a tainted series, and that sucks. And we look back to other times that Steph Curry was hurt. The 73-9 season, you could say like, oh, like LeBron James and Kyrie Irving were incredible, and they were. But I think a big deal with that was Draymond getting suspended, and Steph Curry was not 100%. So I always hate when someone's hurt in a series and that kind of dictates the outcome of said series. Like people will say, well, Chris Paul wasn't healthy in that 2018 Western Conference Finals. Yeah, they had James Harden still, and they missed 27 threes in a row. Or Kyrie Irving not being in the first championship for the finals against the Warriors. Yeah, they saw LeBron James. Regardless of all that, it's going to be difficult for the Warriors to go forward without Steph Curry. But I think what's really apparent is that Draymond Green has to take on a leadership role more than he ever has before, where in the past, when Steph was hurt in 2016, Klay Thompson was that guy to keep the spark going offensively. Same thing with Kevin Durant a couple years ago when they had the 2018 run. They didn't have him the entire first round of the playoffs against the Spurs, then he came back for that second round matchup. Jimmy Butler will be that guy as well, but Draymond Green, his defense is so important to their success right now. So he needs to be out there. He cannot get another flagrant or two more flagrants to get suspended. And I think that he realizes that the way he talked about everyone getting involved last night, him talking glowingly about Pat Spencer and how he's played, and even joking with him saying, like, you may not think that he's going to be a great basketball player with the way he looks, and that number 61 is misleading, but he could play. And I think he needs to, I think it really clicked for him. I don't know why it did, but for Game 6, when I guess his teammates, Steve Kerr, his family, his barber, everyone telling him your body language was terrible in Game 6. And he was embarrassed by that. And since that time, I've really seen a mature Draymond Green. He spoke about it when they won Game 7. Played great defensively for Game 7 and played great last night. And I saw when Dante DiVincenzo and Jimmy Butler were getting into it, he pushed them apart. Draymond needs to be the leader where it's on him and it's on everybody else, where he cannot let his actions get the best of him. If he's gone, they have no chance, especially without Steph Curry. So Draymond needs to step up with a leadership role, and everybody else needs to step up offensively for them to have success without Steph.
Yeah, but also that's what I'm more worried about than Jada McDaniels threatening that they're going to guard Buddy Hield like they guarded Steph Curry, because they couldn't guard Steph Curry last night. I do question the Timberwolves' perimeter defense. I do. They've been one of the better defensive teams over this past month. But the Lakers aren't a good 3-point shooting team. And I honestly, I just think that was a terrible matchup for them, for the Lakers, at least. Just the Timberwolves' inside defense was too good. Jada McDaniels can act like they have a good perimeter defense, but they've allowed nearly 40% in 3-pointers. So I'm not worried about that. What I am worried about is them baiting Draymond. Because I think they know, if Draymond's out, if we somehow get Draymond to do this, it might not go spoken in the locker room. It might not go spoken in a team meeting, but you might have players text back and forth with each other. Hey, if Draymond's out, they got no shot, 0 chance. So I'm a little more worried about that than I am about the actual Timberwolves. I'm telling you, dude, I don't know what it is. I'm just not as threatened by them as everyone else is. Like, I just don't feel that way. Anthony Edwards, sure, he's a great player, but if you can contain Jaden McDaniels, keep Rudy Gobert from just being a force on the inside. I thought Steven Adams played better than Rudy Gobert so far in that series and was more of a force with the Rockets. If you can keep them at bay, Julius Randle, I'm not scared of him. Like, okay, you can let Anthony Edwards get his, but if you stop the other guys, I feel really confident. Obviously, it's different without Steph Curry, though, so we'll see. I could be eating my words after game 2. But I wasn't really impressed by the Timberwolves, man. I just wasn't.
Neither was I, but I don't think that's the way it's going to be for every single game.
Maybe
I
not.
think that last night they were just rusty as hell, and they're going to shoot better tomorrow night. I'm not saying that the Warriors have no chance tomorrow, but I would be very surprised if they go up 2-0.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that they're cooked in this series by any means. I think that it's just the way Chris Finch keeps talking about the way that Rudy Gobert wasn't getting any calls. That's him basically telling the league, you better have the refs go in our direction next game. And this is an old classic Popovich tactic where you call out the refs and you may get fined, but you get the calls next game. We saw famously with your boy David Fizdale, Stephen, where he said, take that for data. Explain it to me. Explain it to me.
Oh, that's why he's my boy.
Well, you made a great rejoin at one point in time back in the day. But yeah.
That's so stupid.
No, but it was funny though. But yeah, that's what you do in the playoffs. And now I'm sure Chris Finch will get calls tomorrow. I'm sure that Steve Kerr was clapping back at him saying like there's lots of clips that I want to show the league about how Steph's not getting calls. So it is what it is, but I would anticipate the Timberwolves playing a hell of a lot better, and most likely when they come back to Chase Center, this thing will be tied up 1-1. That's what I am anticipating.
Yeah.
As far as the games at Chase, I mean, are you still fairly confident the Warriors win this series, Steven?
I actually am. Yeah, because I don't think we've seen playoff Jimmy yet, and we easily forget what he looks like. I don't think that he had the mindset of I need to score. I think he was trying to do more to get his teammates involved, but I think he's going to turn into the Miami Heat version where you just see him take over. And I actually want to play this clip from Jay Williams, and I'm agreeing because this is what I'm hoping, but I also agree because I think we've seen Jimmy Butler play a limited amount of games this year. So even though he is coming off the injury, he's still fairly fresh. And I think he can take over if he wants to. And I totally agree with what Jay Williams said this morning.
Surprised? That feels very disrespectful to the Warriors. They're 3-1 versus the Timberwolves this year.
Like without Butler any of the time.
And what does that say? And this team has been the number 1 defensive team in the league since Jimmy Butler has made the trade. And the reason why everybody keeps talking about how great they were against the Lakers and the physicality. And I give them a lot of credit for that. But when I know that the Lakers play ISO basketball and the Lakers also play more of a containment defense, the thing that makes Warriors basketball really good now is the fact they actually put pressure on the perimeter. Guys like Ant Edwards tried to force the gap multiple times last night and couldn't find his rhythm. So look, I think a lot is dependent upon when Steph is able to come back. We'll learn if that's a grade 1 sprain. If that is, that could be 1 to 2 weeks. But you could make a case that all Jimmy Butler needs to do is get you 1 game in the next 4.
And then they 3-2 when he comes back from games.
Yes. If you can give him 2 weeks of break and he does the right kind of rehab, Jimmy Butler has carried some other teams with lesser personnel. No offense to Goran Dragic and Duncan Robinson and all these guys he took to the NBA Finals, okay? Yep. And who they beat in Milwaukee and Indiana. He just needs to give you 1. If he can give you 1 against a team that actually defensively doesn't play defense to the style in which the Golden State Warriors play, that's all you're asking.
Yeah, I think if I'm not saying they need to win 1 and get it to game 6. At least I think they need to just, I guess win 1. Yeah. But the way I'd rather have it is they either win 1 tomorrow or win 1 in game 3. I'd rather not see the Timberwolves go up 2-1. I'd rather see the Warriors go up 2-1. and then potentially go down 3-2 if that's what they're asking for, because that's just a classic playoff series where you see the other team win, or at least force a game 7. Is just that situation where they're up 2-1, other team comes back, wins the next two because they're back at home. Then it's 3-2 heading back to the road team's arena. That's where they tie it with game 6, and then they force a game 7 and go back to Minnesota. So that's where I'd feel confident. But I do think playoff Jimmy will be activated. But again, that's on the line, Derek, of what we do as fans, where we say we think something is going to happen, where really we're just hoping that's going to happen. We don't actually think it's going to happen.
I agree 100% with Jay Williams. I think that in order for the Warriors to have success going forward in the series, they need to win one game at Chase Center. And if they can get up 3-1, that'd be incredible. But
oh my God, dude.
What?
Just going up 3-1. That'd be nuts.
Well, yeah, without Steph, and that sounds, kind of hard at the moment, but it can be done. I just think, like, realistically, best case scenario is to be 2-2 when Steph returns, and hopefully he's back by game 5, and then you go from there. But I don't want to do it where I don't want to have the Kevin Durant formula where he came back from his high ankle sprain and it made it worse, him playing, and he tore his Achilles. But I don't want to where it's just, break glass in case of emergency. You're down 3-1, and then Steph comes back. You can't rely. Steph's incredible, but you can't rely on him to be fantastic right away. It could be, he's not playing for a week and he's a little rusty. So 2-2 would be the best scenario, and then he comes back for game 5. But yeah, I mean, Jimmy Butler has been that guy to take lesser teams to the NBA Finals. And believe me, he has got more talent on this Warriors team right now, currently, than what he had in Miami. And even though they had Tyler Hero and Bam.
Duncan Robinson was the best three-point shooter in the league at the time, too.
No, definitely. But, and it was lesser talent in the East. But even though he was going up against Giannis and Boston, Jimmy was incredible. I remember him having 46 points in a game 6 that forced a game 7 right before the Warriors played the Celtics in the NBA Finals. But yeah, the formula is they have to win one game without Steph Curry. And I think it has to be the same type of deal as the Rocket series, where it was 1-1. They went back to Chase Center for game 3, and they won that game without Jimmy Butler. And I think we have to be the same exact thing come Saturday night. Most likely it will probably be 1-1, and Jimmy Butler has to have a great performance. And the Warriors, everybody on the team has to have a great performance to make it 2-1. And then you could kind of, not that you want to kind of act the same way you did in game 5 against the Rockets for a game 4, but you can at least all right, it's not crazy. It's 2-2. We give ourselves some time for Steph to return. But yeah, I mean, Quinn Post, I want to see more of him. I think that he definitely can help in this series. Defensively, not so much, but offensively, yes. He's one of the best shooters on the team. So,
defensively, the funny part is Buddy Hield might be one of the most important pieces too, because he's been awesome defensively in both game 7 and game 1. Though Jimmy refused to call Buttard a two-way player. He said, "No, no, we're not going to go that far."
Well, that's fair.
No, but also with tomorrow, look, if they do lose, just don't get blown out. I know that may be an obvious statement, but if you get blown out, then you're telling the Timberwolves, and you're really telling everybody, oh, without Steph, they're nothing. If you at least keep it competitive, keep it close, and force the Timberwolves, make this a clutch game where it's within 5 with 5 minutes remaining, and let's just say, the Timberwolves win when it gets down to a foul game with under a minute, then I'm okay with that. But if you're down by 20 with a minute and a half remaining, and they're at the point where they're bringing in the backups, that's when I'll start to feel less confident than I am right now. And that might be an obvious statement to say, but I'm right there where I'm just they cannot get blown out tomorrow night, because you want the Timberwolves thinking, oh shit, we got to go back to Chase Center, and they just gave us fits on our home court without Steph. This might be harder than we thought. You just don't want their confidence going up, because when Anthony Edwards' confidence is sky high, then the rest of the teams is, and we've seen what they do in the playoffs when that happens.
It's definitely on the table. I think that I think the Warriors will not lay down like they did in Game 5 against the Rockets, but I do think that it's a possibility they could get blown out tomorrow. And I'm not so concerned about that, Steven. It's more so how they respond when they're home at Chase Center without Steph Curry. I think they'll have the fans behind them, obviously. And yeah, they just need, I mean, they still are a great defensive team. It's just, yeah, I think they'll have a different mentality than what they had against the Rockets, because you saw last time, Game 2, when Jimmy Butler got hurt, they didn't, mail it in, but it was kind of like, all right, I don't know about this one. They still had a great attitude without Steph last night, and that helped having the lead. Had they been down in this game, I don't know how they'd respond. But, yeah, I think that I don't think we could judge this series based on tomorrow night's game. I have a feeling that maybe they will get blown out, and that's not going to hurt them. It's just one game. You do want to, establish that they're not going to be pushovers without Steph.
That's what I'm concerned about.
Yeah,
I do not want them, the Timberwolves, thinking, "Oh, we got this in the bag." Like, I just want them going to Chase Center with a little bit of appropriate fear. Although maybe, on the flip side, maybe a blowout could be a good thing, because then the Timberwolves would say, we don't even need to try against this team. And then they ended up tricking Game 3. Maybe that's a way to look at it.
I'm not saying it's a good thing or a bad thing. I don't want to have the whole rest mentality again. It doesn't matter at this point. You're playing every other day. You get your rest when you can. But it's more so what these 4 games are going to look like, what the series record's going to be once Steph comes back. That's all that matters. You want to be at least even, or you want to lead the series. If you're behind 3-1, you're kind of fucked. Yeah, that's the way I look at it. So
yeah.
Yeah.
What's the point line that you're at, though, where you feel like the Warriors need to score this amount of points and you'll be comfortable? Because I'm saying if the offense can score 110, then
that's exactly the number I was thinking in my mind. Scary enough.
Pretty good about the way the defense played. I know Steph is. I mean, obviously Steph is Steph, but we can't forget that they did hold them to 88 points, and it wasn't just Edwards who had an off shooting night. Everyone had an off shooting night. So a lot of them were non-factors. So I think the defense without Steph can still flourish in a similar way. I mean, if they're scoring 110, then I'm feeling pretty damn good.
I would agree. That's the number I have in mind. My biggest worry is them offensively. Yeah. I'm not worried about them defensively. I heard some people today on the radio say, well, maybe it's a good thing because Steph's kind of a liability on defense. I disagree with that.
I do too.
I think that Steph has improved his game defensively immensely in his career. You could say early on, yeah, he was a liability. I remember Kevin Durant and Russell Westbrook laughing about Steph Curry's defense. He gets rebounds. He got 10 defensive rebounds in Game 7. Steph Curry is out there getting boards. Is he going to shut down somebody? No, but some of the best players in basketball don't do that. Look at Luka Doncic. He's terrible at defense. Steph Curry's way better defensively than Luka is, and James Harden, and most of these guys. But yeah, it is offensively where I'm worried that, if they get down by 20 to the Minnesota Timberwolves tomorrow, I don't know if they have the offense to get back in the game. And I know that you're seeing in the chat here, what if Buddy Hield scores 50 points? He's not scoring 50 points tomorrow. It's going to be really tough for him. I know that Buddy Hield is having amazing three-point shooting. It's mainly because Steph's out there helping him. But Steph was out for the majority of that game last night, and he still was getting shots. So I expect the Timberwolves to play better defensively. I expect them to shoot better. And maybe it is that I overestimated this Timberwolf team. Maybe that they're not as good as we thought they were. Maybe JYOM is making great points where the Lakers, they're ISO-centric basketball, which I'm very surprised that JJ Redick has them playing that brand of basketball. I thought he would open it up a little bit more with passing it a little bit more and three-point shooting, but no, they don't play that style. It's, here comes Luka or here comes LeBron. And that's easier to shut down when you're a defense. Maybe it is that the Timberwolves just don't have the personnel to stop them. And yeah, I think that I don't know. I think the series could go any way at this point. I think that maybe
Well,
Jimmy and the Warriors
well,
rise
Derek,
to the occasion.
you thought they were going to lose even
I
with
know.
Steph Curry healthy.
I know.
So
I know.
I think we know where you're going.
I know that let's see here. I know that Rocket New Era, yeah. I definitely have proof of Derek saying Warriors losing this series before Steph even got hurt. Hopefully Warriors win the series. I've always said that. I've always said I want them to win the series. Look, I always want the Warriors to win. But if I'm being just realistic in what I think in my mind, yeah, I thought before the series started that their age was showing against the Rockets, and a better team would have beaten the Warriors. The Rockets are inexperienced, and they don't shoot as well. I thought that what I saw from the Timberwolves against the Lakers was pretty impressive. And Anthony Edwards is a superstar, and he has a better team and a better coach. Actually, Ime Udoka is pretty good. Chris Finch is good, but I would say Ime is better. But yeah, I did think the Warriors were going to lose this series, and I didn't want them to, but I thought it was going to be close. And I thought playing every other day was going to hurt them. And it did with Steph's injury. Now, with Steph being hurt, I would hate for the series to, this go in the direction of a Warriors loss, because that just doesn't feel good to me. I want to know that the Warriors lost playing their best. And if Steph's not out there, then I think it's tainted just as much as it is in 2016 or 2019 where KD was hurt and then Clay got hurt. It didn't feel right to me. Even though I didn't have a problem with the Raptors winning the championship because I like Kawhi, just doesn't feel good to me. So I know what I said, and I'll stand by that. I did think the Minnesota Timberwolves were going to win this series. I don't want them to. Don't get that twisted. I'm not fucking rooting for this team. I was just, being unbiased like Matt Steinmetz is every time he picks against the Warriors in a playoff series.
Boy, Matt Steinmetz, that's a bold role model to choose from in Bay Area sports radio.
Just trying to be like Steiny.
Look, although all the shit that he gets from Warriors fans who seem to, what's the word I'm looking for? Who seem to, God damn it, what's the word that I'm looking for? I can't even think of
teams that what?
No, I'm thinking of the Warrior fans that put Steph Curry on this pedestal to where he's like their favorite human being, and then they talk shit about Steiny, and then, oh wait, Steph or Steiny might be one of the few that Steph actually respects in this Bay Area media world.
Exactly.
Maybe you should put a little respect on the name of Matt Steinmetz. God, that guy sometimes will just so the door where our station is adjacent to 95.7. So literally my desk is at the corner. The door is right there, and the door leads into the sales room, which is where 95.7 is. And they don't actually go there anymore, so I don't see Steiny as much. But when they were getting prepared for the show and Steiny would get in a little earlier, sometimes he would just stand at the door and stare at me in the corner. And then he'd go, and then he'd just turn around and walk away. He sometimes will call me out for what I'm leading with. Langford, you're leading with the Utah Mammoth in the National Hockey League after a Warriors game? What is the matter with you? Do you even know what you're doing? Why'd KCBS hire you?
Yeah.
God.
That's Steiny.
So you coming out drinking?
Yeah.
Anyway.
They'll do that and they'll be like, so you coming out drinking? And you'll be like, no, I'm busy. Why the fuck not?
It's a term of endearment whenever he
exactly.
Does it. It's like the same as Ray Ratto. Like Ray treated me very kindly at the Sharks game till he realized that I wasn't just some fan who came up saying hi to him. Once he realized who I was, then he's just like, oh, wait, what are you doing here, you freak? Why are you stalking me? At first he was like, hey, how you doing? And then blah, 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 just making pleasantries. And then once he realized who I was, then he started insulting me. I'm like, I'm in. Yes.
That's how you know they love you, is when they insult you. And I love people in the chat being like, well, isn't Derek from Texas? He's not really a real Warriors fan. Stop this right now, everybody. Stop it right now. I am a diehard Warriors fan. Stop this.
Mavs?
No. Fuck the Mavs.
Mavs?
In 2007, I was the only
Rockets?
kid. When I was I hated the Rockets. When I was the only kid in Houston, Texas, rooting for the Warriors to beat the Mavericks in the We Believe playoff series, and I fucking loved it. When all those kids were just like, "Oh, the Warriors team's not even that good. How'd they win?" Yeah, because Don Nelson knows how to beat your ass. Anyway, don't get it twisted, everybody. I'm a diehard Warriors fan. Yes, I rooted for the Warriors, A's, and Raiders because my dad did the play-by-play for all those teams. And yes, at times when my dad was rooting for the Spurs, I did root for the Spurs because the Warriors were pretty bad. But I'm all about the Warriors. Don't get it twisted. It's just
the Spurs.
Yeah, it was just it's going to be tough, and it's even tougher now. But I want them to find a way to win this series. And if they lose it because Steph got hurt, that would be a tough pill to swallow this offseason. So, yeah. Although AJ Cruz asked, I only asked, why didn't you cheer for Texas teams? Because I hated them all. Astros fans were, Rockets fans suck. The only Texas team I root for is UT because I went to the University of Texas. That's the only team.
The worst of them all.
What do you mean the worst of them all?
The same as like Cowboys fans and Yankees fans. Everyone's the University of Texas.
No, it's different. We don't have the championships that those teams had.
No, but it feels like there's a lot of bandwagons still.
There is. I mean, Texas football fans are arrogant as fuck, even though they've only won one championship, and that was with Vince Young. So yeah, I get that aspect of it.
Derek, did I talk to you? I don't think I talked. We were on the podcast. After the night I went to the piano bar when I was in Texas because I was in Round Rock. Went to the piano bar. Great time, right?
Yeah.
Sent you the video of the drummer doing a solo version of Paul Revere by Beastie Boys, and I mean he was just older gentleman in a Dunder Mifflin shirt and some tacky hat, and he's doing the Paul Revere. It cracked me up. But throughout the night, the star of the show was some quintessential Texas dude celebrating his 30th birthday. And I just want to know how popular the phrase, "Hell yeah, brother," is in Texas, because he was screaming that every single song. First he went, "Enter Sandman, brother, enter Sandman." And then he kept on just going, "Hell yeah, brother. You guys are fucking awesome, man. Hell yeah."
Isn't that more of like a Hulk Hogan thing?
Stone Cold.
Stone Cold, okay.
Yeah, and he sounded like the Texas Rattlesnake. And I don't know if this was a guy that was trying way too hard to lean into this thing, or if he is truly an authentic cowboy, and that's just what they say.
When I was at Texas, I don't remember hearing a lot of "Hell yeah, brother."
All right, fair enough. Hell yeah, brother. So good.
I will say the phrase I hate the most in sports is when fans go, "Let's fucking go." Can't stand it.
Why?
Because it's just like, yeah, you could say something else.
Why?
I hear it all the time. Tom Brady. It's just everyone's go-to thing. Just that gets annoying after a while.
Yeah, let's go is yeah, I guess you're right. You're not totally wrong on that.
Exactly. Like at the end of the day, like, what does it mean? Let's go? Let's go what?
Let's go where?
Exactly.
Where do you want to go?
Yeah, exactly. It's a weird fucking phrase when you think about it.
Yeah, when you really think about it. When you really peel back the curtain and you think about that phrase, what does it really mean?
Where are we going? Are we going somewhere in life? You're just winning a sporting event. What does that mean?
Why are we going?
So yeah, the odds are up against them, but I will say I have to give a lot of credit to Steve Kerr for the way he coached that game last night and the rotations, the timely timeouts. I'm sure he'll have his team ready to play. I have a lot of faith in him. I have a lot of faith in Draymond and Jimmy Butler that they will, if they do lose this series, they will go down swinging as hard as they can. They're not just going to be some pushovers. So while I did pick against the Warriors in this series, I still think they're going to put up a fight. And I wouldn't be the least bit surprised if they still win it. It would be incredible. And it'd be typical Warriors. And Steph comes back to save the day and be truly Batman. Like it would be like if we were doing a Batman analogy, it would be like when Batman broke his back and was stuck with not Ra's al Ghul, but all those people that put him in that cave or that prison, and then he had to go fight Bane.
Yeah.
That's right now. Anthony Edwards is Bane, and the Warriors are. Well, I guess all the people that are helping Steph Curry. Steph Curry's Batman. I don't know where this analogy is going. Just basically, when Steph comes back, it'll be like Bruce Wayne coming back to save Gotham and The Dark Knight Rises.
Anthony Edwards has a way to go to be Bane. Anthony Edwards is more like Scarecrow right now, where I don't know whether I should take him seriously or not. He's scary, but I haven't seen it yet.
I mean, could you take Bane seriously with his voice?
Don't expect someone in the wreckage, brother.
Exactly.
Yeah. Huh. All time.
You thought you were born in the darkness. I was simply molded by it.
It's not Dr. Evil.
I think it was pretty good Bane.
That sounded like Dr. Evil.
Dr. Evil's like, what $1 million?
That's exactly what your Bane just sounded like.
No, Bane was more, let me think of a line. It's time to go mobile.
All right. Are we gonna move on? Because I got this video. If we're gonna move on to the next thing, that's a nice little transition.
What's the video?
It's just of the guy with Enter Sandman when it finally came on.
Yeah, play it.
So strobe light, so if you close your eyes for a second.
Yeah, he's having the time of his life.
Where was that piano bar?
It was in Round Rock.
So you didn't go to the one down 6th Street?
No, it didn't go to. I told you that we didn't go to.
Oh yeah. You texted me that.
Yes.
Yeah, no, the piano bar down 6th Street is incredible. I got incredibly drunk and was asked to leave because it was my 21st birthday and I was throwing up in a trash can right next to the bar.
Oh no.
Yeah, and that'll happen. And I was mad. I was screaming obscenities at the guys playing the piano bar because even though I gave them my money, they didn't play the song I wanted them to play.
Why? What was the song that you wanted them to play?
I wanted them to play pretty much the inspiration for the John Dickinson song "I Can't Dance" by Genesis, and they never got around to it.
Oh, really? I Can't Dance by Genesis.
It's a good song.
Yeah, sure.
It's a great song.
Yeah, for a piano bar though.
You could do it. Do 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 do. See, that's all you need.
Yeah. All right. Okay.
All right. A little NFL frenzy for you in early May. I thought that the Steelers were not going to trade George Pickens. I figured like once the draft ended, it's like, all right, well, makes no sense now. We'll just go with the team you have right now with DK Metcalf and George Pickens, and hopefully he who shall not be named will eventually be signed. But alas, he was traded today, George Pickens, to the Dallas Cowboys for a 2026 third-round pick. And I believe it was a 5th-round pick or maybe a 6th-round pick. Regardless, the Steelers didn't want to deal with this crap anymore. And I get it. I mean, if I'm being completely honest, I'm not a George Pickens guy. I think that he talks way too much for a guy that doesn't back it up. He's had amazing performances at times. I think he had a great one-handed catch this season. Or with the play where he almost got his feet in bounds. I think it was on a Monday night game. But he was late for the Christmas Day game this year against the Chiefs. He was a no-show against the Cincinnati Bengals when the Steelers needed him really badly at the end of the season. And he just complains. And I'm not a fan, and this is a very Dallas Cowboys move to trade for a guy and not give him a contract. You're just hoping that you win the Super Bowl with him. But I don't think he's that good of a wide receiver. I don't think he's that good of a complimentary guy to CD Lamb. So they can give up draft capital for this guy, and then he'll hit free agency, and it was all for nothing. So I think the Steelers, they can easily replace him with Keenan Allen or Amari Cooper or even Gabe Davis, who was released today, or even Alan Lazard, who, apparently might get traded from the Jets. So I think it's not that big of a deal for the Steelers. They get some draft capital in return, and the Cowboys get a player that's good, not great.
Yeah, it did nothing for me. I saw it. It was like the first thing that it was like the first thing when I got into the studio that they were talking about on ESPN, and it was on Sports Center or whatever the show was on. It wasn't even on Get Up at that point. It does nothing for me. Pickens has proven that he's very talented, but if you want to talk about, actually, it might be disrespectful compared to Jonathan Kuminga because he's had more character issues, say, than Jonathan Kuminga has. But the point I'm trying to get at is he's got a lot of talent, but doesn't seem to be a team guy. Yeah. So is it going to change that? Is that going to change in Dallas? Maybe, maybe not. They're just so set in their ways. Maybe CD will take him under his wing and teach him how to be a professional because he clearly didn't have that in Pittsburgh. So I don't know. Unless his attitude changes, then I don't really see any change in this, at least any shift in the way that I'm thinking about it. But this also comes off as like I've never liked him. No, I really liked George Pickens. I really did when he was with Pittsburgh. You know, it was really funny watching him take down cornerbacks. It's like, damn, this guy's tough. But then you see him just blocking assignments. And then you mentioned that Christmas Day game where he was late and just not respecting a coach like Mike Tomlin. Like, if you don't respect Mike Tomlin, then which coach in the NFL do you respect? Like, Mike Tomlin is known as the player's coach. If he couldn't get you to buy in, then who can? What, is Mike McCarthy going to be that guy? No.
Well, Mike McCarthy's gone, Steven. It's Brian Callahan now. Not Callahan. Brian Schottenheimer.
Brian Schottenheimer. That's embarrassing. Moving on.
Well, either way, I mean, you know, we'll see how he is a head coach. But I mean, I mean, you're talking about the way he laid out cornerbacks. Like, it's a good thing that Jordan Lewis isn't on the team anymore because I don't know if you remember this for the Sunday Night Football game. Jordan Pickens grabs him by the face mask and pulls him down when they played the Cowboys this year. And I don't know if you saw Jordan Lewis on Twitter today. He was like, I think this shows the proof that I needed to be in Jacksonville because he's not on the team anymore. So we'll see how George Pickens fits in. But, yeah, you know, believe me, I love a good trade in the NFL, but this doesn't do a whole hell of a lot for me. So, I don't think it's that big of a deal. I think that CeeDee Lamb's a hell of a lot better receiver than George Pickens, and we'll see how he fits. It's another target for Dak Prescott, but I think the Steelers, you got to look at their history and see their problems with wide receivers. The guys they drafted, Antonio Brown, Chase Claypool, Deontay Johnson, and now George Pickens, all have left unceremoniously. If that's the proper way to say that.
Yep.
So, yeah, we'll see how that pans out. And I think, you know, if any, like I saw people on Get Up or the Nick Wright show be like, what does this mean for Aaron Rodgers? Considering you nailed this, Steven, I didn't think it was that big of a deal, but Garrett Wilson had his issues with Aaron Rodgers a year ago, and it happened in minicamp. I don't think Aaron Rodgers wants to deal with any young wide receivers that are going to be fucking divas. So I'm sure he'll ask to get one of his buddies like Alan Lazard, but whenever Aaron Rodgers signs, he signs, but I don't think that's going to preclude him from signing with the Steelers. But
I'm only coming here if you sign Jordy Nelson.
Exactly. God, Jordy, where the hell's Jordy Nelson been?
Get Mercedes Lewis for me. I need Mercedes.
Is this your A-Rod you're working on?
That's just all I got. That's not really. I've been working on it. I just did it.
But my favorite thing that came out of this trade this morning was when Mike Greenberg played it on or announced the trade on First Take this morning or on Get Up. Do you have the clip, Steven?
Let me get
this was just beautiful. Just so good. And I know that show's on early, but you know, Mike Greenberg's a pro. This is something I would say on Dirty Work if I was misspeaking. This is him announcing the trade on ESPN.
The bottom of the hour, we have major breaking news this morning on ESPN and Get Up. The Cowboys and Steelers are working to finalize a trade that will send wide receiver George Pickens to Dallas in exchange for draft pick compensation. Shefty dropping that bomb from a plane earlier this morning. He's on an airplane, and the trade is, I didn't like the phrasing of that. The trade is expected to include a third-round pick, other pick plus and is expected to be finalized today.
I love
got
Dan
worse.
Orlovsky's face. Look at his face.
Huh?
Huh? What did you just say?
Bomb from a plane?
Oh my gosh. Terrible. And you know it wasn't him that wrote that too. That's just some breaking news sounder where like Greenberg, like I've grown an appreciation for writers within like the anchor role now with being KCBS and kind of being in that reporter realm where, you know, you got to write stuff like that.
Right.
Scott Van Pelt, Mike Greenberg, those guys are elite at that job. You could tell when it's them who wrote it, or at least, you know, wrote it beforehand and then maybe, you know, kind of had other guys edit or whatever. But you knew a producer wrote that one and it was not Greenberg because someone absolutely got reamed for that afterwards.
Yeah. No, I'm sure Greenberg was like, that's not the way you probably write that. And to your point, Stephen, yeah, like working at television, when Chris Rose would write his own opens for like to introduce a highlight, it was just beautiful the way that he would wordsmith. But like, yeah, he would tell. Actually, I had to run the prompter for him when he would read those things, and I got running a prompter's pretty nerve-wracking on live TV because you don't want to fuck it up for him.
Of course.
But he would write it so perfectly, and I was like, God, I just hope I'm doing this right. And he would just nail it every time. Speaking of wide receivers going to different teams, we didn't bring this up, and I've been meaning to. Hunter Renfrow, guy that you and I both loved when he was with the Raiders, signed with the Carolina Panthers. And it makes a lot of sense. He's from Carolina, played for Clemson. But I didn't know this. We all were wondering a year ago, why isn't Hunter Renfrow signed with the team? And he didn't have great seasons towards the end of his Raiders career. Had a hard time getting off the line of scrimmage. But I was like, I can think of a lot of teams that could use him. Come to find out, Hunter Renfrow was dealing with colitis for last season or last year. That's why he didn't sign with the team. He's better now, but yeah, I'm happy to see Hunter Renfrow back in the NFL, and hopefully he makes the team with the Carolina Panthers. I would assume he would because they need a slot guy on this team. It's been, you know, big body receivers in Xavier Legette and Tenero McMillan, Adam Thielen still there. But yeah, it's good to see Hunter Renfrow healthy and back at football.
Yeah, he's already small by NFL standards when he's at his normal weight, when he's 5'10", I think 180. But then I can't remember the exact weight that it was, but the colitis had him down to 150, like 3. I want to say like something crazy like that, where he lost just so much weight. So at that point, he's just, you know, kind of a guy, but thankfully he's okay. And he's back in the NFL. It sucks that this happened to him because he was having what was looking like a really promising career. It looked like he was blossoming into a terrific NFL wide receiver who was going to be around for years to come because he could take hard hits. He was like a Julian Edelman type. Obviously, that route where they call the China route, which he put on Charvarius Ward that one time in the end zone against the Chiefs.
Well, they call it the China route.
I don't know why they call it the China route. It's just why I called it that. God, I wish Peyton would have had that one on details.
Yeah.
We call that one a squirrel route. I don't really know why that is. I guess he just run around like a squirrel. But back to the play. You see here that Matthew Stafford told the ref that the ball should get on this part of the line of scrimmage instead of that part. That's what makes the difference in a quarterback.
But yeah, we're glad that Hunter Renfrow is back in the NFL. Real quick before we get out of here, did you see the Golden Globes going forward are going to have a new category for Best Podcast of the Year?
Yes, I did.
Well, how do we get in there for your consideration?
Maybe get more than like 20 people to watch this live at one point.
Yeah, I think we might. I think we might closely miss out to like maybe Smartless or any of these big podcasts that are out there. Maybe even Rogan. You think Rogan would be nominated for a Golden Globe?
Absolutely not.
Well, who dictates like what? That's such a hard category because like obviously.
Well, okay. Hang on. We'll pull up the details here because I actually
AJ Cruz. You guys can start by taking calls. We don't know how to do that. Okay, only Walter knows how to do that shit. I'm sorry.
You guys can start by taking
engaging the audience more. I'm yelling at you right now.
What do you think we've been doing this whole time?
Jesus, it's all for you guys. Otis Bird is by far the nicest guy in the shed, I tell you.
All right. Golden Globes on Deadline. Third best player assassin wouldn't be announced. Details are few about the criteria for the new category, though according to the Globes today, the top 25 will qualify for consideration with a total of 6 nominations for the category. Eligibility requirements for those rankings and other details will be announced in the coming weeks. So we got to figure out what those details are, Derek, and see if we can get ourselves a little GG.
Oh, yeah, man. I'm all about those Globes. Although I think it's like, even though podcasts are a big medium these days, it's so weird that they're part of the Golden Globes going forward, which kind of makes me don't take it seriously. Because even though obviously we're podcasters, they don't do like video game of the year, and video games are huge. So why now podcasting? I don't understand this. Very weird.
Well, they have like awards for that stuff, but they need like separate podcasting awards. Do they have that? Like they have the Webbies, which is for YouTube.
Yeah.
Like, do they have a separate podcasting award?
Yeah, they have like the iHeart every year has like a huge podcast award show. And that's where like the Kelsey brothers and Smartless and all the big ones get their awards. So there are award shows for podcasting. I just think it's kind of random that the Golden Globes are doing it.
Yeah, I don't. Well, top 25 in the world, man. I have a strong feeling that Joe Rogan will not be taken into consideration.
Maybe not. All right, everybody, that's going to be it for tonight. And if I can, AJ Cruz, one of these days, I'll figure out how we can take calls on this thing. Walter has weird things, and he has the technology, and I don't know if I have the patience. But if it means that you'll be happy, we'll have more fan engagement, then one day I'll find a way for us to take calls. I'm sorry. So Steven and I are going to return on Sunday at our usual time at 11, I believe. We'll see how the weekend goes for both of us. But yeah, we'll see how things go for Game 2 tomorrow night with the Warriors, and then Game 3 on Saturday night. But yeah, we will reconvene on Sunday to go over what the Warriors did in Game 2 and in Game 3. For everybody in the chat tonight. To AJ Cruz, Rock a New Era. Otis Bird is the word. I think we had Skills in here for a little bit of time. And that might be, unless I'm missing Ernie 1. Did he pop up in here at all? I don't see him, actually. All right, everybody, that's going to be it for tonight. We will see you guys on Sunday. Steven, say what you always say.
Shout out to the Valkyries in their first game. I think.
Oh yeah,
Otis Berg set it up here.
And Sharks number 2 pick.
Yeah, there you go. Also, just if you watch the Valkyries highlights from the preseason game, just look up a couple of the passes from Julie Van Loo, who's like a veteran they got in the expansion draft. A couple of no look passes. They were pretty sweet. All right, that's just our opinion, man.